Hello everybody, my name is Flappy741 and today I'm going to be giving the best and fullest review of Black Beacon so far. The day is April 16th, 2025 and the game has only been out for little under a week. I believe tomorrow is going to mark it being the first full week that the game is out. And this is simply my thoughts after playing through the game as much as I could to certain limits, and the pros and the cons. And if any developers of the game look at this video, my praise and critiques and any individual's nitpickets I can give that I think are worth taking note of. So without further ado, let's roll. I will be doing this in the style of Gacha Smack. If you don't know him, I respect him highly on the highest level. And the way he does some of his reviews is he will put his thoughts on a Word document and then slowly scroll down and talk about them as he hits each point. So I'm going to be doing the exact same thing. I'm just going to be going down slowly and steadily and explaining things as they come up until we reach the bottom. So here we go. Ratings and meanings. Defining number/word ratings I'll be using and their meaning. So a lot of reviews I see have like number ratings or like they give out word ratings, but I don't really understand in comparison to what they mean or how they mean. So this is simply me taking the effort to define any rating I will give in the review and what it means. So if you ever go to a video and you forget what it means, you can just come back here and I'll small explanation what I mean. So 5 out of 5 are excellent is nothing but praise. I can't think of a single bad thing to critique. 4 out of 5 is good, mostly praise, few critiques. There's just small nitpickets here or there. Average, nothing that warrant praise or criticism, or what is praised balances out with what is criticized. So this is that there's an aspect of the game that's just there, and it's not necessarily bad or good. It's just, it is what it is. Or there's some aspect of the game where there's something that's really good about it, but also in the same category, there's something that's really bad about it, and together they just kind of balance out. And then poor, 2 out of 5, it's the reverse of good, which is there's mostly critiques and very few praises I can give. And then terrible, or 1 out of 5, is the excellent. 5 out of 5 are praise. There's just nothing but critiques I can think of. There's nothing good about it that I can say, honestly. So, music, good. Consistently fits the atmosphere of the story, increasing intrigue, tension, hype, etc. So, I should say now that the story progress I've made, well, I can just show you. I am at 6 out of 6. However, or 6 out of 10, excuse me. However, even though I am that far, I was skipping ahead just so I can get some goodies in terms of like pull currency. So in truth, I'm actually somewhere at like here in the story. This is the last point of the story that I can clearly remember. So in terms of where my meaning or understanding the story is, I've read through chapter 4, but I don't want to critique on it because I understand that chapter 4, 5, and 6 is one arc together, and I don't want to judge the one chapter when I don't have a full picture of the arc. So in terms of story, I would like to think I am simply at 4.3, really, or chapters 1 through 3. So with that said, for the story of at least chapters 1 through 3, I found the music to consistently... I gotta put this on silent. Hold on. Okay, just turn my phone on silent. For the music, I find it to be consistently fitting the atmosphere or the tone of the story of wherever it is. If it is a moment in the story where there's like a rush, like the final end of the chapter where there's like something of a chase, there is like a tension like music, I guess you could say. If there is simply some lore or exposition going on, it's not some like upbeat or fast music, it's just like chill or just kind of background music that's there. The music constantly fit whatever was just being displayed on the screen. With that said, nothing memorable. Examples given: Helldiver 2 drop theme and Zenless Zone Zero Gacha pull. So, for Helldivers 2 drop theme, it has been October 11th, 2024. That is the last time I've played Helldivers, and that is that's 6 months. So that's half a year. So it has been half a year since I played Helldivers, but I can remember thoroughly the drop theme. Ba-da-da-da, da-da. That theme. I can just think of it once, and I can have that theme going through my head for an entire day or so. Same thing with Zenless Zone Zero's Gacha pull theme. Ba 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 da 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 da.
Temperature control is crucial. Each operation must flow seamlessly into the next.
Okay. So, like that. So even though the music selection constantly fits the atmosphere of what the part of the story is, which is good, it is worth noting that there isn't anything that I remember. So if I were to stop playing now and stop playing for like even a couple of days, I wouldn't be able to play you back even a small snippet of any of the music in the game. So it's not like the best, but it's certainly good. Don't mistake one critique as I'm saying it's bad anyway. It's very good overall. Story, good. Reverse 1999 semblance. So just like Reverse 1999, if you haven't played Reverse 1999 before, it takes on a visual novel presentation. And one thing that's very good about Reverse 1999 that I also feel has a place in this game as well is that Reverse 1999 has its own ambience or its own like feel or presence. Like there isn't, when you pull up Reverse 1999, you know it's Reverse 1999 because everything about it screams the late 1900s theme, from the character designs to the art to the music and to the sound effects. It all comes together to have a unique feel. This game comes close. Reverse 1999 I feel is like the best at it, but this game does start to feel very close to its semblance, and for me it gives something of a you're kind of lost yet not. It's really hard to describe atmospheres or themes, personally speaking, but that's what I feel when I play this game, where when I'm pulled in and I'm invested, I feel like I don't know where I am while also knowing exactly where I am at the same time. It's hard to explain, but for the ambience the game gives, I find it to be suitable and nothing that I dislike. Story spoilers. Make specific mentions of events or characters while going into as little detail as possible. So if you are really interested in the story, especially from chapters 1 through 3, just skip ahead to the next section. I will block out this part when I'm done with it, with the video, so you're not spoiled and you can continue enjoying the rest of the video. But I will be making mentions of the story that I think are good or bad. So, with that warning, here we go. For Tower of Babel arc, as I'm going to call it, chapters 1 through 3, The time travel loop was cohesive enough to understand, enabling me to enjoy following along. So I always find time travel stories to be very difficult sometimes to follow along because it's just complex sometimes. It's very hard to determine if one action you do in the future should have been adjusted to make up for something in the past or vice versa. It's easy to get confused. With that said, I feel the story does enough to give you enough analogies to explain what is happening, or enough black screens. So in Honkai Star Rail, they'll give you black screens that give small descriptions to what's happening. This game will do that as well, but they'll also do it more of explaining the time in terms of if you're going 1 week back, you're going 2,000 years back, 2,000 years in the future, that kind of thing. I find that to be suitable as it keeps me with a general flow of what's going on. I got lost maybe once or twice, probably didn't understand a few things here and there. I believe I'll talk about this later. But overall, I felt for a time traveling story, I followed along with it pretty well. So much that I enjoyed it. And there's not a lot of stories that do time travel that I can follow along as much as I did with this story. So in terms of what they tackled, which is time travel, I think it's very well done. Wish the glossary button was mentioned at the beginning of the story, or maybe it was and I didn't pay attention to the tutorial pop up if it exists. So when you are going through the story, there are 3 buttons. This button hides the text square and all the other options like the heads up display in case you want to get a picture or a good view of the art, whether it's the background image or the character art. This button will give you a backlog of the story, so in case you miss something or you didn't quite understand, you can go back and read it. And this button is a glossary. So by clicking this button, you can have a thorough understanding, if you just want to search for things, of concepts that they talk about, from worldview to locations and anything very specific that the story is relating. Unless I missed it in the beginning or I wasn't paying attention, I didn't know about this button until chapter 2. Like chapter 2 in like point or section like 10. Would have been nice for my understanding of how the story was going, like what's an anomaly specifically, or what are some places. Would have been nice to know that button was there, or that button was what it was later on. Maybe it's me being dumb, or maybe if it was mentioned and I just didn't know it, then that's on me. But to the best of my memory, I can't recall it ever being explicitly mentioned, like, hey, if you ever get lost in certain terms, here's a glossary button to help you out. Enjoy. So there is a glossary button there if you are going through the story and there are some concepts that you don't understand because some names might tend to blur together. It's going to be in the top left corner. It looks like this one. So one small wish. All EN voice acting is excellent. I can't think of a single character where I felt their voice was out of place. There are some characters that I'm just not the greatest fan of per se. Where is he? This guy right here. The voice actor did well with him, so it's not like I don't like his voice per se. The voice that's given to this character suits him very well for a child. I'm just not a fan of all the characters. But in terms of the voices paired with each character, for EN specifically, for English, I find every single voice, whether to be a playable character or characters in the story, to be well done. Very appropriate for each one. So for whoever was in charge of the, there we are. Whoever was in charge of the voice direction and appointing the actors to certain characters and then giving them the prompts to have this kind of energy or emotion, I find that throughout the entirety of the story, at least chapters 1 through 3, it was excellent. I can't think of any real downside to the voice acting. Greater vocabulary makes me learn new words, which is nice. What was the word? Satiety, I believe that's how you pronounced it. And a few other words. This story does not slouch on vocabulary. If there's a big word that you don't understand, it prevents a glossary. And then if there's a word you don't understand, you just look that up on the internet. Satiety. Yes, I am pronouncing that word. The state of being satiated. So I know what satiation is, but the fact that it's satiety, never knew that word. I was familiar with the word anomaly, but I never had a clear definition of what anomaly is. The way they define anomaly, it makes the word, I understand the word very well now, I like to say. So any other story that uses anomalies as a element, I can understand what it's talking about, or I can really get into it. So it clearly explains concepts that are related to time, and so enough so that I can generally go through with it. So prompts to big words and them taking the time to define some of the concepts, and for other big words that make sense in context. There's just stuff popping up all over today. I appreciate the big words. Many games woven into the story feel balanced, short enough to not interrupt flow of the story, varied enough to not be repetitive. Examples: choosing the correct direction based off clues, chasing the Aten, running over a broken bridge in Arc 2. So, the first example of choosing the correct direction and based off clues, this is a part of the story in early, I believe it's chapter 1 / part 2 or part 3. There comes a point in time where you need to choose the correct direction based off how organized the library shelves are next to the path. And my most favorite aspect is that if you get it wrong, you do come across enemies, but that is it. You don't come across enemies over and over and over until you get it all right. It's like if you get it wrong the first time, you come across enemies, and then after that you're done. Or if you get it wrong on the second try or the third try, then you come across enemies, but that's it. So it's not like you constantly have to fight enemies until you get through. It's just if you guess all 3 paths right, you don't have to fight anything, which is nice. But if you don't guess them all right, then it's just one little small battle. And the battle isn't big enough where it's like it's halting your story progress for like 30 seconds or a minute. It's just like a quick fight. So that is a nice element to throw in that just changes up the story of just wandering around from place to place and doing this and that. Chasing the Aten. This is the after the chapter 3 boss, after you fight it, and then the Aten starts to just run away, and you start running up the tower of Babylon, or the stone pillar. I forget the name of it at the top of my tongue. The beacon, we're just gonna call it. That was cool. And the little mechanics you gave where you have to change the dimension or the time you're in to avoid obstacles, or you hit back attacks that the Aten throws at you. It is a nice little mini game that fits the upbeat pace of the story where you're trying to stop it. The music involved was excellent, and it wasn't so hard that it felt like it was a chore, nor was it anything annoying. It was nice. For what it was, it didn't feel like it was an extra step or something too dramatic. It was just a mini game that fit the theme of tracing down the Aten until you can get it and stop it, and it was a nice little treat. So this kind of like mini game, it wasn't there just to be there. It was there with a purpose. I guess that's the main point I'm trying to get across. It was a mini game that was there with a purpose. It didn't feel like it was just thrown in there just to buy time or just to be thrown in there. Same thing with this. This is something that's part of the story in Arc 2, or chapters 4 through 6. I don't remember where this was specifically, because again, at a later point in the story, I was just running through the story. I have a gist of how chapter 5 and 6 goes on, But again, since I was just skipping everything, that's all I have, which is a gist. But there was one point in the story where there was a bridge that didn't look too sturdy, and when you start going over the bridge, it starts to collapse, and you have to run before the bridge falls, and you have to avoid obstacles like a falling rock or just going through some monsters. Again, it was a mini game with a purpose. It wasn't thrown in there just to be thrown in there, but to also show the dramatic change in the setting. As far as I can understand the story, the changes in the setting as things get more chaotic, you had to avoid falling obstacles and falling bridges. So every single mini game that was thrown into the story, it had a purpose, and nothing felt wasted or repetitive. So their mini games and how they implement things, well done. Whatever you guys are deciding, or how you guys are deciding to make video games, keep at it. That's my belief. MC has no substance. Darius is an excellent antagonist. Alright, so main character, the Seer. The best I can describe him is that he's there because he's there. That's it. That's the best I can describe the main character. If you were to tell me favorite food or distinct positive trait or distinct negative trait, I couldn't tell you anything. This is probably one of the most self-insert characters ever. It is designed where the choices you have are not even really choices at all. They will take a sentence sometimes and they'll divide it in two. So it gives you like the illusion of choice, but in actuality, you're just kind of like pushing a button to just probably give you the feeling that you're speaking. And the story is in the second and first person point of view. So in cutscenes, you have a first person point of view. You're looking through the eyes of the character or the Seer, but it's done in a way where it makes you think that you are the Seer, which is nice. So the second point of view, which is you, isn't mentioned at all though. So even though you do have a point of view that you're seeing through the eyes of the main character, and there are so little detail given where it makes me believe that you are supposed to be the main character and you are in the story, there's hardly any dialogue choices or anything you can decide for yourself really that makes it feel like you are the character. So even though the character is there's so little details about the main character, I imagine to the effect that it's trying to make you believe that you are the main character and you are going on this journey. It is at the same time also a character that just doesn't really give you options on how to dictate what to think or say, rather than you are scripted on saying specific things. So at the end, it just feels like it is a main character and we just call him the Seer. And the Seer is just by happenstance, he ended up in the tower and he was labeled a Seer, and he has the ability to traverse the time zones in the tower like other people, and that's it. That is the Seer in his entirety. Nothing more, nothing less. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I feel like I'm rambling. So main character has no substance. With that said though, Darius is an excellent antagonist. To write a character that not only has a physical appearance and presence in one chapter, but he has an effect on not just chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, but outside of his arc, chapter 4. If he has an effect in chapter 5 and 6, again, I wasn't really paying attention to those two chapters I was going through, but I at least know he also has an effect in chapter 4. So for a character that seeks immortality so badly, where he has his epic, he is so ambitious for immortality that when he goes to the tower, he doesn't die, but he transforms into like a Persona 5-esque transformation. So in Persona 5, everybody in the real world has their outer appearance, and then in the metaverse, villains will have like a second appearance that looks like how they do in reality, but kind of like another colored skin, like discolored skin. And then there's the boss version of the antagonist where they look like a monster. For a character to go from how they look to the boss version, very, very memorable. And that boss version ends up being in chapters 1, 2, and 3. And his quest for immortality, this man had such an impact on the world that he is still relevant in chapter 4. All of this done in the screen time he's given, which is mainly chapter 2. That is beautiful. Excellent. Perfection. Of all the villains I can think of to have as little screen time and as much of an impact as Darius did, I can't think of many in general. So for the character writing of Darius, he is one of my most favorite antagonists in general. At least with recency bias, I can't think of too many right now. Maybe if I were to go down a list of movies, I can think of a few antagonists. But for as of recently, for some movies I played and games I played, Darius is a very well written antagonist in my opinion. So there's just a balance between here where the main character doesn't really have any weight at all. If you were to ask me to describe the main character in any other way except he's the seer and he can time travel through the Tower of Babel, that's all I can give you. But Darius, a man who is ambitious for the pursuit of immortality, so much so that he becomes ruthless. He starts off not peaceful per se, but kind, and as he grows closer to death, he starts to fear death to the point where he starts to become, I guess you can say evil, but he's no longer so kind. He becomes ruthless. He starts to kill his own subjects that loved him, subjects that would have died for him, and subjects that are no longer mean anything to him. He leads an army, but there comes a point in time where in his pursuit of immortality, as he goes through the tower, his army basically dies, I'm assuming, but he so fixed in the way of wanting revenge against the main characters, becomes immortal in his own way where he transforms into a monster, and even then he still has an effect on the story. Nothing but praise for Darius. Nothing but praise. So it gives me hope that if the writing for one character can be this good, I do have faith that the main character can make a comeback and have his own identity eventually. If I remember, Wuthering Waves at the very beginning, the main character didn't really have that much substance as well. He was kind of aura farming a little bit, but not so much aura farming where I felt the rover was really making a big impact. But later on in Wuthering Waves, like 1.1, 1.2, especially when we get the Black Shores, the rover started to be fleshed out and become more of a main character. So I am trying to be considerate that this is 1.0, probably just going through other different building blocks of the world, and we're just trying to get into the adventure and start enjoying the adventure. So I do have hope that later on the main character will start to have more substance to them. With that said, the evidence being, if Darius can be written so well, I believe the main character has hope to be improved. Let's carry on. Can revisit any section of the story at any time. I feel like this should be a given with visual novels, but there is one gacha game that does have visual novels in its storytelling, which is Epic 7. For the most part, I have a love-hate relationship with Epic 7. I won't get into that now. But one thing, if you haven't played Epic 7, the main story is told through a visual novel presentation, just like Reverse 1999 in this game. However, in Epic 7, you can't go back at all. Once you're done with a story scene, you're done. If you were to try, like, for example, I'll just do a quick presentation here, right? So if I wanted to do any story section with a scene, I can just click on it and begin. I'll just do it now. And it takes you into the story. Epic 7, you can't go back and do anything like this, right? You can't go back and enjoy the story once more. Once you're done with the story, you're done. So I would have felt that a visual novel like game would have that, but not all of them do. So with that said, I'm glad that you are able to go back at any point in this time in the story and appreciate it. It is the main reason why I decided to skip ahead, so I can clear some of the content and get some currency for pulls without having to worry that to rush the story and not enjoy it. So I can go all the way to chapter 6, section probably 18 in a rush, but go back all the way to like chapter 5, section 2 where I'm at and enjoy it slowly. So I can rush to the end and get currency, but still be able to go back and visit. So I'm not pressured. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Pressured, right? I'm not pressured to have to enjoy the story or rush through the story. I can just take my time with it or do whatever I want with it. It's very nice to have. All right. Gameplay. Good. Wuwa semblance with combo and with 2 skills plus swap cancels minus obstacles. So, just how there is a first-person hero shooter games, the first one at the top of my head is like Overwatch, and then other games come along that take some aspect or core concepts and make their own touches to it. Case in point, Marvel Rivals. This game has drawn lot of inspiration from its combat from Wuthering Waves to me, but I do not see that bad at all. And on top of that, they added more elements to the combat in terms of what is already presented in Wuthering Waves, such as 2 skills for characters rather than each character having 1 skill, and a combo function. So a combo, if for a brief period of time, all team members will regenerate all vigor. Vigor is a variable needed to activate some skills. They will regenerate all vigor, and then for a brief period of time, they will have no vigor consumed. So you can go from character to character and just blast away skills as long as it's within the time frame. The time frame, I believe, is like 10 seconds, I believe, or even shorter. That's what it feels like. And then additionally, there are different stages of the combo. So the first time you get the combo ability, you are able to, with the first character, exhibit a core part of their kit. Sometimes a kit, part of the kit that needs building up to with the combo button. For if you, with the character you're using, you could just initiate it immediately. And then the second part of the combo, where every team member, if you swap to them, initiates the core part of their kit. So, case in point. Oh, that is Wuthering Waves. So, case in point. I'll use Arishan. She's probably going to be the easiest example. Arishan has a skill called Unfathomable Area. This is just a big AoE nuke. You build up resources until you hit the enough resources to trigger this ability, and then when you trigger this ability, it's just a big AoE nuke. Combo, when your combo gauge is ready, you basically just nuke, and then you have until the combo period is done. You have unlimited uses of her core ability, which is Fated Strike. So you mainly want to build up to Fated Strike and then nuke, and then her passive will have a part of her passive is putting a mark on enemies for 10 seconds and increased damage, and then that's where a big bulk of the damage could come from on elite targets. So generally throughout her kit, you build up to her passive mark, and then you go ham. With combo though, you just hit that combo button, she nukes, you go ham. And for 10 seconds, you go ham as fast as you can, basically. And that combo function exists with every character in the game. So every character has a kit, in which case there is a build up to some ability, in which case that ability is good. with the combo function, you just initiate that part of the kit that you're building up to. And then the second version of combo, it's all characters are able to do it when you swap to them. So, with that said, combo with another skill rather than one skill with two skills, that is enough to be significantly different from Wuthering Waves. Like there is, you can see the semblance and the similarities, but the function of combo in two skills rather than one is enough for me to have a different mindset when I play this game. Like there's no same rotation in Wuthering Waves as in blackbeacon. What you would define as a rotation in Wuthering Waves, it's going to be different because you want to be able to take advantage of the combo given to you as well. With that said, just like Wuthering Waves, in blackbeacon, there are also swap cancels. If you don't know what swap cancel is, some characters have very long animations, but instead of waiting for the animation to fully finish before you can do anything else, you can start the animation and then swap to other characters to do anything while the first character finishes their animation. So this allows for quicker gameplay with characters that have slower, a slow flow, I guess you can say. So case in point, Florence. One of her abilities, her E2, Blooming Rage, she spins and then she jumps and then she slams down. This is like the bulk of her damage. Like the Blooming Rage damage is really big, but the animation takes like a second or two. So you can initiate this animation and then under certain circumstances, I usually wait for damage to be dealt to an enemy just to make sure that she won't disappear, because sometimes if you start and you swap off, if there's no enemy that Florence is targeting, then she'll disappear and you lose it. But more often than not, when an enemy is hit by a long animation, you can swap to other characters and they will do something, and Florence will still be on the field finishing her skill too. That is a swap cancel. So the fact there are swap cancels in this game is, well, let me put it this way. One of the main reasons why I loved Wuthering Waves combat so much is due to the swap cancels. I love all things swap cancel related. In Wuthering Waves, it is sometimes seen as a negative for a character to be reliant on swap cancels. For me, that is nothing but a boon. If a character is reliant on swap cancels, gimme. I will take them. I love swap canceling. It is really fun. With that said, obstacles. So there are some gameplay parts, or there's some parts of the map that have obstacles. If you're going through chapter 1, you've probably been through it by now, where there are some tables in certain scenes, and as you fight enemies in certain areas, that the map just gets in the way. For example, for Arishan, if you were to throw her sickle, or her scythe, if you were to throw her scythe, depending where the scythe is, you can try and teleport to it, but you won't really teleport to the scythe. You just kind of like appear randomly as close as you can to the scythe, and it just kind of feels bad and it throws you off. For me, it feels bad. Maybe for some people, the obstacles on a map create a more a different kind of gameplay where you have to really think about the map and use it to your advantage. For me, it just kind of gets in the way. I appreciate the attempt though, but for example, I'll just do a quick presentation. I'll show you what I mean. All right, so depending on how far you've gotten into this map, you may have already, or depending on how far you got into the story, you may have already seen this map. I'll be very specific here. There was a time where I'm rushing against the timer. I cannot move here. So some enemies, like Florence, some of her attacks just send enemies like way over here. However, because I am in the corner, and if I were to try and like fly, like let's say I want to attack this bird right here, I can't fly. So I am targeting the bird way over there, or the ox over here. I am not flying to the ox's location. I am stuck because I am in the corner. Yeah, so I can appreciate different maps and different sceneries for the end game, as long as part of the map just doesn't get in your way or interrupts your combos or abilities, what you're trying to do. As long as that's not a factor, I love the changes in the different maps for the end game. So that's what I mean by obstacles. It's only that one really. I was just trying to beat the clock as you do an end game, and it got in my way, and I had to restart the stage, which didn't feel that good. So outside of that, it's just all the other obstacles in the game. It's only an annoyance simply because it doesn't really matter. End game is what matters for a lot of people, and if an obstacle is getting in your way, end game, that feels bad for me at least. I speak for myself. Wish there was a training mode like ZZZ with numerous combat mechanics. Wish I could practice teams rather than characters in tutorials. Yes, so with, as I've mentioned, the combo and 2 skills, there's a lot of opportunities to make complex rotations between every single character. You can end up with 2 or 3 different variations of a rotation between the same 3 characters. And I find that depth of combat to be exhilarating, intriguing. I love sitting down on afternoon and just trying to min-max or theory craft what's the best way to get damage, like what's the best time to call in certain abilities or characters and combos. I wish there was a training mode like in ZZZ where you can just explicitly have one enemy just sitting there and you're able to turn off Vigor or turn on Vigor and just practice swap cancels or practice certain characters. So there is tutorial. Characters do have tutorials, and when you get them, in which case it'll show you how to use the character ideally, and then afterwards you can practice on the enemy. But I wish there was this kind of like tutorial setup, but for a team that you can select. So you can take Florence, Hefe, and maybe Zero all together and practice in a tutorial mode or a setting, that kind of thing. So that's a simple wish of mine. If it's too challenging, like I can live without that mode, but if the inclusion of that mode would be very nice, if possible. Wish I could change Ancient Marks and Infinite Multiverse selection screen. I have a picture for this. So, as you just saw, this is the floor for the end game. When you finish through the first selection of Infinite Multiverse, that's the name of the end game. This is the name of the, like, with the towers equivalent. When you lock in your squad, in this scene or in this screen, you cannot change your gear. You can't click on these characters and do anything with them. You would have to go all the way to the main character screen from the main menu, and then go to Ancient Marks from the character selection and change the gear. I wish just for a shorter shortcut, since the gear can be interchangeable, and some pieces you don't want to just make multiple copies of. Once you get a good gear, that's it. I wish you'd be able to quickly just change it. It's tedious to just go back and forth. Not the end of the world, but it's just tedious. Wish I could redo stages after completing them and or return to team selection screen for a stage I just finished instead of being forced into the next stage or return to settlement. Specifically a retry button in the results section. So I have a picture for this as well. So when you finish a mode or a battle, you're given 2 options. If it's not the last stage, you're either challenged to the next stage in which you progress into the next stage, so it'd be stage 2, or you leave and you go back to the menu selection. I wish after I finish a mode, like maybe I just want to practice this team in particular, that there's like a retry button like here or here, so I can just keep practicing against certain enemies in a certain difficulty. Because as you go on to the next stage, the difficulty gets harder. But as you can see, my character, Asti, isn't developed well enough where I feel comfortable sometimes taking her to harder content. And I would rather just practice in stage 1 with her while I'm trying to level her up. A retry button would be nice instead of having to constantly exit stage, go back into the menus, and then load the same stage again. So instead of a 20-second or a 30-second progress just to play the same stage, I wish you could just have a retry button, and then you just load it in like 5 or 6 seconds or something like that. It's not the end of the world. Again, it's just annoying and tedious. Just a improvement idea. In Infinite Multiverse, the first section, the buff description is in the middle of the screen at the beginning of the stage, blocking view. Wish it was to the side. That's my picture. So when you start the match, this is something small. This is just a nitpick of mine. When you start the stage, this appears right in front of you. Especially if you do not have a point of, like a top-down point of view, you have the other point of view. It might take up of where you want to first throw your character abilities, or where you want to go, or how you want to group. It's just kind of in the way, and this is there for like 2 seconds. So again, I don't mind this appearing or in this staying, but if it just appeared like right here, or maybe up here, or just not in the middle, right? Not in the direct middle of the screen, that would be nice. Again, I use the first stages of the end game, like the first section, as something of a trial grounds to like practice different characters to see if I can get a feel for them. So it was just annoying that this just kept coming up in my main view all the time. In Infinite Multiverse core section, wish I can decide when the stage begins instead of waiting for the loading screen like I'm a runner waiting for a referee to shoot his pistol. Example, start of the rogue mode. So in the end game, what dictates how you start is none other than the moment the game is loaded up, or the stage is loaded up, you start immediately. You do not necessarily time when the game or when the stage begins. You just have to be ready for the stage to begin, or to be loaded in. Because the moment the stage is loaded, you are immediately on the clock to get going. So I just simply wish, just like in Wuthering Waves or the rogue mode here, where you can dictate when to start the fight, that would be a nice where I can prepare myself a bit more mentally, like if I'm trying to get my fingers in position, or if I'm trying to refresh my mind, my head, certain rotations. That would be nice. Again, small nitpick, nothing too big or serious, just small notes for devs, I suppose, if any developers see this. Oops. Okay. Alright, next page. Gacha System, average. So, unlikely to get a 5-star early, but can't lose with weapons, and unlikely to lose with limited character. So, I'll show you mine. Because I have spent in this game, I've probably spent like 200 so far for pulls. So, I have done plenty of pulls. It's retrieval. I forget. So, for the limited, at the beginning, I was doing rerolls until I got a good enough start. So, I started off with Nana. I lost 50-50, started off Nana. I didn't want to keep rerolling, so I said, fine, I'll just take it. So, Nana is at 5 here, right? So she's at the 5th pull. So this is 1, 2, 3. So 13, 23, 33, 43, 53, 63, 70. Lawrence came literally 70 out of 70. So we go again. So 1, 2, 3. 13, 23, 33, 43, 53, 63, 70. Again. 70 out of 70 twice in a row. And then once more, I believe this one came up a little bit early. So 1, 2, 3, 13, 23, 33, 43, 53, 56. So this wasn't 70 out of 70, so this was something of early. But again, as you're about to see now, there isn't any exponential pity build where you're unlikely to get to 70. You're more likely to hit 70 than not. So, again, Florence, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 16, 26, 36, 46, 56, 66, 67, 68, 69. We're just gonna round 1 up to 70, right? So 3 times, I basically hit 70. 3 times. And then for the weapon as well, again, the max is 50, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 out of 50. Again, max pity, I get the pull. And then we might as well just go over these while we're at it. So I believe these I was a bit more lucky. So 5, 15, 25, 35, 45. No, I wasn't lucky. Again, 50 out of 50. 5, 15, 25, 35, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50 out of 50. So, and this one came early, which was nice. And then I'll just do this since we're just going through it all. Might as well. Why not? Screw it. I got lucky. As you saw, I just got a double pull, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 18, 28, 38, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. So not 70 out of 70. I got lucky. I was very happy with this. But as you have seen with these 3 banners, I hit 70, I hit max more often than I did not. So the critique with the gacha and why I say it's average is because even though you are guaranteed the 5-star at lower intervals than other gacha games, like in Wuthering Waves, the guarantee is at 80, and Hoyoverse, the guarantee is at 90. The pity doesn't go up exponentially the closer you get to 70. It goes up, to the best of my knowledge, it goes up linearly. It goes up in a straight line, and even then, it's not like a straight line. It's like your chances are like 5% or like 2%, and then it goes up to like 4%, and then it goes to like 5 or 6%, and then 8, eventually until you hit 70. So you are more likely to hit 70, the max pity, or if you're pulling for a weapon, 50, then you are not. So there is a unique up and down, which is compared to other gacha games, the pity is lower, but the chances of you getting lucky or an early pull is very unlikely. You are let me word it this way. Expect to go to max pity, which is 70 out of 70. Therefore, you are just pleasantly surprised if you get an early. Don't ever expect an early. You will be disappointed. I was disappointed. Characters can't share weapons. Weapons can be earned from endgame item shop. Again, this is a plus and a minus. So, characters cannot share weapons. Each character has their own unique weapon. So, no other character has an umbrella. You can't give Asti's umbrella to any other character. If you wanted to have a leveled up weapon, like I have leveled up my Florence's weapon, I cannot give her weapon to any other character, nor can I equip any other weapon. It is simply Florence's weapon. There are 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star variants, but you cannot share weapons between any character at all, period. The weapon you get is either a 3, 4, or 5-star variant. That is a downside. With that said, there are a few upsides in terms of pulling character weapons. One is if you hit, 15, this resets like every rotation, every 42 days. But at 15, you can select a character weapon, and then if you buy the battle pass, basically, you can also get the 5-star character weapons. So if you don't buy the 5-star, if you don't buy the battle pass, you can get a 5-star variant of a 4-star character's weapon. So I'll show you. I'll do it in the retrieval. So in this pull, there are 4-star character weapons like Jin, and then there are also 5-star variant pulls like Eroshan. So in the battle pass, if you do not choose to spend, you will always have the chance each rotation to get a 4-star character's weapon. But if you want to get the 5-star character, you have to buy the battle pass. But you can get 5-star weapons in the battle pass. Additionally, if you go to endgame currency, when you're earning endgame currency, as you go through the towers and you get your stars, not only do you get endgame currency pulls, you also get these tokens, Scars of Infinity. When you save up enough Scars of Infinity, there's a store, and with it, you can buy the 5-star weapons for 5-star characters and 4-star characters. So this is Viola's weapon, this is Logos's weapon, and then this is like Asi's weapon. So there are multiple ways to earn 5-star weapons outside of the pull. So that is the make up, I guess you can say. So again, major downside that you can't share weapons between characters, but they do try to alleviate it by giving you multiple ways to get to the 5 stars of each character. So think very wisely if you decide to start the game. Do some research onto the characters and their weapons. Be very careful of what characters you start to invest in, because there is a lot of investment for one character. The only thing characters share are ancient marks. That is it. Everything else, the materials played in one character, it stays with that character. So just be very careful. Okay. Gear. Excellent. Getting the perfect piece isn't a matter of if, but when. Thank God. So, I will talk about the gear. So, the gear in this game is called Ancient Marks. Ancient Marks, if you have not played Reverse 1999, like you are a Wuthering Waves player or is a Hoyoverse player, this probably looks alien to you. And you're like, what the hell is this? I will explain this real quickly. But as you can see to my right, there is, as Florence is a fire damage dealing character, I have 5 out of 6, and the only one that's 6 is this little piece, which we can easily take off. So you might be wondering, how am I getting a perfect piece like this, or this, or this, or this? Well, what you do is you take 2 of the same shape, and if they have the stats you like, so let's say there is some character in the future that not only does thunder damage and lightning damage, you can pick one piece of the same shape. It has to be the same shape, so you can't combine critical damage with this one because they're not the same shape. They have to be the same shape. But, well, let's use this one instead. So let's say I have a light character that does light damage and I want to combine critical damage. So you can take light or the critical damage, doesn't matter. Where'd it just go? There we go. So you can take the stat from the light damage, you can take the stat from the critical damage, and you combine them together, and you will have the exact same stat. For the size, there is no like luck in terms of like you roll a high attack or a low attack, it's going to be the same. So don't worry about like a detriment in terms of rolling down or less attack. It's all the same. So this means you do not have to constantly roll on a single piece of gear to see if it comes out perfect. And then if you do get a gear with like good stats, like attack, crit rate, crit damage, and everything you want, you don't have to use materials and level it up and then just see the gear to roll a lot of low stats. Or even worse yet, this happens to me in Zenless Zone Zero and I hate it so much. I can roll 3 good stats on a one piece, and then there's one bad stat, so I can have like attack, crit rate, crit damage, and then flat health. More often than not, when I level up the piece of gear and I try and check it, it always goes into like the flat health, or so it feels like. So I'll have several pieces where it's like 1 attack and then 3 flat health. I hate that so much with a passion because it consumes so much time and it just makes me so happy to get a good piece, only to be so disappointed. So with this gear system, you just have to keep rolling on the level 1 until you get the stat you want. Once you get the stat you want for the piece you want, you just combine them. So this has pierce, fire damage. Let's say I wanted to add the critical damage. I would just take this piece, level it up. It would be gold. This is max. You can't go above 3. But it would have all the stats I could want. And then I'd throw it on a character. So this enables you to precisely pick the stats you want. So all of your end game builds it shouldn't, let me put it this way, it shouldn't have any wasted stat. So right now I'm still building Florence, and this is just for the passive rather than for the stat. But in the end, when I'm done with Florence, there in theory will not be any wasted stat. It's not a matter of if I have any wasted stats, it's just a matter of what is the balance between how much attack I have, how much pierce I have, how much crit rate, crit damage, or fire boost. Because each piece can only go up to 3 out of the 5 that you would want. So you would want attack, crit rate, crit damage, the element damage you're doing, and then pierce. But you can only have 3 to 5. So what's going to matter even more is just the balance of those 5 perfect stats, rather than some mismatch of a variety of stats you don't even need. So it will take a bit more time to roll for gear. With that said, though, it's a matter of when you have a character's gear set done, not if, when. And that makes me just love the system so much. So for the gear system, which is probably one of the most time consuming of all the gacha games, they did something that I extraordinarily love. I do not mind if the stats are kind of set in stone, as long as I'm not constantly rolling to try and get a set of stats that I want. And then on top of that, I just keep rolling bad stats from other games. So from Wuthering Waves, Zenless Zone Zero, or any other gacha game I can think of, this gear system is, in my opinion, the best gear system of all the gachas so far. If there is any gear system that is better than this, I would like you guys to tell me. So, exploration, average, ZZZ semblance, free perspective is impractical. Okay, I gotta retract this statement. I've seen gameplay of other players. It is practical. It's not ideal right now, but it's practical. But exploration is average. So as you go throughout the story, there will be maps in which you can change your perspective from top down to free perspective. The free perspective has the same, well, I'll use ZZZ, or not ZZZ. I'll use Wuwall as an example since I have it up right now. So in the in blackbeacon's definition, this is free perspective. So top down perspective would just look like this all the time. And then when you swap to free perspective, it will look like this. And then you can fight with other angles from like the front of the character or the back of the character or to the side. And then you can have a whole bunch of other characters. But there's different angles like this. But when you're in combat, more, from my experience than not, it's usually top down. It's top down. For me, it's a lot easier to just keep track of where some enemies are if I just try and keep them together. Versus a perspective that, since the button optimization in the blackbeacon is still a work in progress, it is a, well, hold on. Since the buttons in blackbeacon are still a work in progress thing, I can't control the camera angle per se. It's just the camera angle points me of wherever the character is. So it's not bad, but you don't have as much control of it as you would in like Wuthering Waves. So, and then on top of that, again, just as in Zenless Zone Zero, as you go through the story, there are different maps that you can interact with, like find some chests and then fight enemies, and you just progress through the map as it would make sense as the story would do so. And that's it. So the exploration, if you can even call it that, it's nothing special or new. It's very similar to the Zenless Zone Zero. So nothing bad or good per se. Just what it is. Performance. If you've played a little bit of this game, especially if you are recently, like if you're watching this video shortly after it comes out, you can already guess what I have to say about this, but we'll go through it. So, PC, average. Sound turns off randomly often. To fix it, and restarts. I didn't word this too clearly. The sound will sometimes just turn off, period. And then in order to get the sound back, you have to restart the entire game. So this is a big killjoy if you're in an intense scene where like there's music, there's sound effects, there's voice acting, it's intense crying or yelling or whatever, and then all of a sudden the sound just goes off. And simply waiting for it doesn't matter. You have to restart the game. You have to restart the app. It feels bad. So that's a current problem that needs fixing. Loading screens sometimes don't disappear and need to restart to fix it. Again, for some maps, this happens to me more often than not in the rogue version of the game, which is the, I'll show you real quickly. What's the rogue? No. This is the rogue version, Tome of Fate, and in which you progress and level up and then get your gear. More often than not, when there are loading screens that won't load, it's usually in this mode. But sometimes it happens in story, and it sometimes happens in combat. So it's not just that mode. It happens throughout the game, but just mostly in that mode. That's annoying. Anything I have to restart the game just to fix shouldn't be, and it's annoying. So that, and then game sometimes crashes randomly. To seemingly no rhythm or rhyme, you can be at any part of the game. For me, it's happened while I was in endgame mode, the infinite multiverse, as I was taking on one of the stages. It's also happened during the story, as it's not even like a map part of the story, but it's just pure cinema part of the story, where you just progress through the visual novel, and it would just randomly turn off. So, game crashing randomly, of course, that's just bad. So, for PC, it's average. I have a phone and I have a tablet. I have an iPad. For the phone, it's worse. So you have all the problems that the PC has on your phone, plus it crashes more often, and then your phone gets really hot. So unless you are very patient, like you don't have the PC or your PC can't play Google Play for one reason or another, if you have a phone and you're interested in this game, I can only recommend this game if you are very patient and you don't mind all of these problems I listed, plus a bit more frequency, and then on top of your phone just getting hot. So those are the optimization problems the game has right now. And then for tablet, again, I have an iPad. I played this on the iPad. I cannot, in good faith, recommend you playing this game on the tablet at all. I will put it this way. If all you have is the tablet, and for one god dang reason or another, you don't have a phone or a PC, I would either suggest waiting for them to optimize the game so it is not crashing a lot, or just skip the game. I hate to say it, but for the tablet, let me put it this way. If you want the best first impression of blackbeacon, you do not want your first impression of a game to just be crashing all the time. Let me put it this way. As you saw, or maybe you saw, and I'll show you again, when I was beginning this account, I was re-rolling. Re-rolling is basically you get to a certain point of the game before you can use the rolling system, and then you try and get a either the 5-star character that's limited or just any 5-star character. So I was re-rolling. And that is how, at the very beginning, as I'm about to show you right now, again, I was re-rolling and I got Nana. So I did re-rolling for about a good 6 hours. Or not 6 hours, it took like 3 hours really. But during all that re-rolling attempts, I was doing it all on the PC, phone, and tablet at the same time. PC, let me put it this way. The average amount of time it gets to the re-roll section and to the point where you can roll for characters probably takes 10 minutes, maybe 15, give or take. So it's not long. PC probably crashed once for the 3-hour duration. Phone probably crashed maybe 7 times, maybe even more, maybe like 9 times, maybe. Tablet, I couldn't get to the reroll section even twice without it crashing like a dozen times. That's not an exaggeration. I'm not exaggerating. the tablet crashed that often. It came to the point where I just gave up on the tablet and I just kept re-rolling on my PC and my phone until I got Nana at the beginning. But I couldn't get 10 minutes into the game, or what's supposed to be 10 minutes into the game, twice before my tablet crashed like 12 times. So, again, if all you have is the tablet, don't try this game. I'm sorry to say. It is very good for all the reasons I've said before, but your experience playing the game is just not going to be good. Your phone, it's doable if you're patient. And then for PC, I can recommend it. It's, again, these problems, Wuthering Waves had these problems as well at the very beginning, so it's nothing new. But nonetheless, even though there are optimization problems and we're just waiting for devs to work on them, right now, I cannot recommend it on the tablet, period. Phone, if you're patient, give it a shot. PC, give it a shot. Tablet, don't. You're going to hate the game simply because what you're doing it on isn't good enough. Wish I could assign right mouse button to anything, especially dodge. Okay. For PC only, this is a PC nitpick. And I heard they're working on this. But for PC, for one reason or another, for all the other buttons on the keyboard you can use to trigger certain functions, like interact, I swapped it to T, and I swapped my combo button to F to make it feel better. I wanted to make dodge my right mouse button. I can't. I cannot assign the right mouse button to anything. So in both ZZZ and Wuthering Waves, where my muscle memory is I'm used to dodging with the right mouse button, it throws me off. Even to this day, because I try to go between Wuthering Waves, Endless Zone Zero, and this game. Whenever I play this game, it throws me off that I can't dodge, and I just take hits and I die sometimes here and there. Feels bad. So the sooner, if at all, I don't know if it'll ever happen. I hope it happens. But the sooner you're able to assign the right mouse button, ideally to dodge, but just assign it in general, the better. Questions. I did have one question. So, in the results screen of a stage, there is damage, and heal. What is damage? So, after one stage, when you complete, if you can look in the back, that's the ending screen. In the top right corner, you can have results of the combat, and you can see which character did how much damage. So in this fight, my Nana did more damage than my Erishon, and then this is the amount of heals my Asti did for the stage. What is this? I have no idea what this is. My only conclusion, or my only thought, that this is overkill damage, in which case this is damage that's wasted. But I have no way to prove that. And I have no way to even really test that accurately, because the combat is so fast, and the damage is just so what it is. So, if there was an explanation that explained it and I missed it, then I'm dumb. But as far as I know, there was no explanation to explain what this is. So if anybody knows what this is for the end results, if you could explain that to me, I'd much appreciate it. That's my only question. So, conclusion. While performance problems exist, tablets is we'll go back to the top real quickly, just to review what my ratings are. So 5 out of 5, excellent, nothing but praise. Good, mostly praise, few critiques. Average, it's nothing special. Poor, mostly critiques. And then terrible is nothing but critiques. So, in conclusion, if you have a tablet, or you're trying to play this on a tablet, it is poor experience. I would not recommend it by any means. Just don't. That's my conclusion. Despite the game being as good as it is right now, if all you have is a tablet, just don't. If you have a phone, you can make it work. It's going to be, if you just have patience and you don't mind it crashing here and there and you don't mind a hot phone, you can make it work. PC client, which is, right now it's Google Play Games Beta. Average to between average overall. The way it is, the game, the state of the game it is right now, with the few problems it has with the performance, which again is the sound randomly turning off or the random crash here or there. It's expected. Again, I'm a Wuthering Waves Day 1 player. It had these kind of problems as well. So for me, this isn't anything out of the ordinary, I think. If anything, for what the game offers in terms of its combat, for not crashing a lot on the phone, as much as it does on the phone, I should say, solid, but it's nothing special. Once the performance optimization problems are fixed, if they are to be fixed, this is an assumption. I have good faith in these developers. So I'm going to say when they are fixed. When those optimization problems are fixed, there's no sound randomly turning off. There's no crashes randomly. There's no loading screens that never load. I would say this game is a 4.5. Mostly praise. Just the few nitpicks here and there I listed is what for me brings it down to from 5 to 4.5. But again, this is still a game I would play very often. I've been playing this game very often. I still love it. So don't let my poor score of the tablet and phone and the general PC score right now mislead you into believing I don't like this game. I love this game. I play Wuthering Waves more often, but when I play Wuthering Waves too much or burn myself out, I've been enjoying this game in terms of substitute. It's just that good. So, yep, I think this is everything I just mentioned. Wuwa started with optimization and performance issues too, then later came to be the game it is today. Just like Wuwa, even though this game has started with performance issues, doesn't make it bad, nor that it will stay that way forever. In the same breath, some devs focus on new cosmetics and sellable in-game items rather than work on bugs. I'm unfamiliar with this dev team, so it's too soon to say, not today, to say how things are looking in the future. So again, if I'm being optimistic and it's not if these are fixed, but when, then I believe this game will be a 4 out of 5. But that again assumes the developers are like prioritizing fixing these bugs and performance issues. Again, there are some developers that are more concerned about selling cosmetics, skins, currency, and all that fine stuff. So that's with good faith for the developers. And then, my gacha game ranking as of April 16th, 2025. That is today as I'm making this video. Subjective, my opinion. This is strictly my opinion. I believe one's taste for video games is not that different, if different at all, from one's taste in food, to one's taste in appearance, to one's taste in music, right? Music for me falls under entertainment, and what entertains you, to each their own. So as I'm giving you my ranking of gacha games, it is not to say objectively one is better than the other, but rather to give you a perspective of when I say blackbeacon to me is 4.5, what does 4.5 mean in comparison to other games? That is my only reason I'm ranking my the gacha games I can think of that I play. So 4.5, what is 4.5 in comparison to other games? So we'll go down. Wuthering Waves is 1. If I had to choose any gacha game to play and I can't play any other game, I'll pick Wuthering Waves, period. I would say Wuthering Waves is 4.9. There's one thing here and there. It's always like the smallest of nitpicks. But for 4.9, for me, it just rounds it to 5. Wuthering Waves is better than AAA games right there. If you're familiar with, around this time, Assassin's Creed Shadows came out a while ago. If you know anything about that game, then I think we can agree that despite Wuthering Waves being a gacha game, there are some gacha games like this one that are better than current AAA games. So, with that said, Wuthering Waves is a excellent game. ZZZ, Zenless Zone Zero. This is, for me, The story specifically. I'm no longer interested in endgame. I don't play this game daily as I do with Wuthering Waves and as recently with Black Beacon. So I don't log in every day to Zenless Zone Zero to beat endgame or to collect currency and to build characters. I just log into Zenless Zone Zero for the story. With that said, though, their story has been out of the park good for me. I'm waiting to hold judgment overall because it is a Hoyoverse game, and as we'll get to very shortly later, their storytelling is kind of dipping down in general, but Zenless Zone Zero for me is still holding strong. It hasn't been too long since its release. I think it's like a month or two after Wuthering Waves came out, so it's coming around its first year anniversary, and so far it's been solid from the characters in the story. But again, even though Zenless Zone Zero I have it ranked for 2, it's mainly for the story. I don't play it every day, but the story's just that good. So I'd say Zenless Zone Zero for me is like a 4.7. Black Beacon. This is what I mean when I say 4.5. Wuthering Waves is like 4.9. Zenless Zone Zero is 4.7. Black Beacon is 4.5. I'm not going to explain 4.5. I just did an entire covering on that. So everything I explained about the game, again, let me put this right. Currently, right now, with its optimization problems, it's 3 to 3.5. But if we assume those are to be fixed, then we put them at 4.5, and then I would put it right here. So this ranking assumes that the optimization problems will be fixed. If the problems aren't fixed, then I'll tell you where I put it later. Ooh. Whoops, I just spoiled the entire list. Oh well. Grand Blue Fantasy. A lot of players from the West, which is the America or Canada, or not in the East at least, which is like Japan and China. In the West, Grand Blue Fantasy isn't really well known. It's not well known. And I would say it's not that popular. Whereas in the East, it's one of the biggest games. It's a browser game, so it's not something you play it similar to Wuthering Waves. There are branch off games such as Grand Blue Fantasy Relink or Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, where it's like a fighting game and like more of an RPG game that branches off from the story. But when I say Grand Blue Fantasy, I'm referring to the gacha game in itself, which is the browser game version. I don't play it daily, but I do check in here and there just to see if there's a new story, because I love the stories that Grand Blue Fantasy has. I love the world. The world is kind of hard to pinpoint unless you play games like Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, where you can visually see the world for what it is. Because again, it's just a visual novel game on your browser. But besides that, the stories, for how many stories there are and the quality of each story, I love to just check in here and there, see if there's a new story, and then knock myself out in like 3 or 4 hours of reading. So I'd say Grand Blue Fantasy 4.3, 4.2. Reverse 1999, 4.0, or maybe 3.9. The story and the aesthetic, in my opinion, hard carries the game. I love the feel of being in the past, and you have the distinct music, the distinct sounds of like a record player with like the French horn, whatever it's called, blasting the sound, and like trumpets and characters wearing gowns and dresses and suits, and the plot twist it has in the story. I believe the story and the aesthetic of Reverse 99 and the art, especially the art, it's all solid. I think a lot of what I just said is above some of these games here. With that said, though, the gameplay, I just can't play the game. It's just not, the card system it has, it's just not my cup of tea. If it's your cup of tea, whatever floats your boat. I'm not saying the system is bad. It is what it is, and for what it is, it's just not my preference. It's just not my category I'd look up to play this kind of game. So I love the story, but I can't get into it. So I don't really play Reverse 1999. So with that said, if Black Beacon doesn't really fix its optimization problems, Blackbeacon would just be around reverse 1999 here. It'd be like 3.5, 3.6. If it's not fixed in a while, it'll probably be a game I just load up here and there, check on the main story, play some side quests, and then just get off. Epic 7. I used to love this game. I used to spend so much time playing this game. I believe I still have it downloaded. And it's even having its like an Origins, which is coming up on like its 7th anniversary. So it's like a more enhanced like animation, since I heard, and like gameplay and stuff like that. Whoops. So I used to play Epic 7 real badly. I spent a lot. There was one day I spent as much as like $300 in like a single day trying to get a single character. That felt bad, I'll be honest. In hindsight, that felt bad. Why I love the game was the PvP. It's easy for you to just get in the loop of constantly loading up a game and playing against other players. And I did it with a passion. Like, I loved figuring out the nitpicks of speed and character damage and types of teams like cleave or tank down or rush and that kind of thing. Why is it so low then? There is one system in Epic 7 that pisses me off so bad I cannot play it. If they got rid of this system I'm about to tell you, Epic 7 would probably be up here as Endless and Zero. I'd probably be playing Epic 7 more than I would probably be playing Blackbeacon. There is just one system though, and I'll explain it. So, if in Epic 7 you wanted to unequip your gear, you had to pay in-game currency. So, this is the in-game currency for Blackbeacon or Relium. I don't know how to pronounce it. I gotta learn how to pronounce that later. Epic 7 is just simply gold. If I wanted to unequip this piece, I would have to pay probably 3,000 just to unequip this one piece. So unequipped, that would have cost me 3,000. I'd probably have 16,000. Now I can equip it again, and if I wanted to unequip it again, it would cost me another 3,000. The higher a ranked piece, the higher level a piece is in terms of like rank, the more it would cost each time. So if I wanted to unequip this piece, even though it's only upgraded to level 2, it's still a big piece, like it has bigger stats, it'd probably cost around the same as this. So if I wanted to unequip this and this together, it would cost maybe 7,000, right? In-game currency. The bottom line is, to unequipped gear from a character, if I wanted to share this gear with other characters, to simply unequip it, I would have to pay the in-game currency. That pisses me off. There was one day I was just out of currency to unequip characters. So even though you have a character built, you have invested into leveling up their skills, their stats, if you want to swap your gear onto them, you'd have to pay the in-game currency. There came a point in time I just said, I'm done. Screw it. This is so horrible. So, if they ever changed that, I would be back and I would be playing. I'd probably be making videos about it. But it is in effect to this day, as far as I am, to the best of my knowledge. And while that is in effect, even if they have their anniversary, or it's not anniversary, but even if they have an improvement, which is called Origin, as they call it, where they're enhancing different aspects of the gameplay and getting gear, I'm not going back. I just hate that aspect so much. And then last but not least, How the Mighty Have Fallen. This game used to be like up here. Honkai Star Rail came out, like, I started playing Honkai Star Rail about basically a year ago. It was April 1st, 2024. It was when Acheron first came out. So, April 1st is when I first discovered Honkai Star Rail. I got hooked on the Bellabog at that time, especially when you're facing the boss. The music, the swapping of elements for the main character. It was cinema to me. That's how I described it. It was sick. The music, I listened on repeat for so long. It was just so great. So there comes my frustration with throughout the time, the story just kind of felt lackluster. And then the story got longer. Then the quality of the writing just kind of got as it is today. I can't go back to this game. If anything, I go back to this game just to see if I can get a pull on a 5-star character, just to get for laugh and giggles. Like, I got an early pull on the Lolly character with red hair. I forget her name. I got her early. I got her like in 4 pulls. I laughed, and on my count right now, that character is still level 1. One of the most broken characters in the game currently, as I say this. I have her at level 1. Don't give any F's that I got a good character early, because I just can't care for this game anymore. So, Honkai Star Rail to me is like 2.5. Epic 7, probably there with 2.5. And then we make a big jump to just like a 3.5. Probably like our 3.7. Then we have like 4.0 or like 4.2, 4.5, 4.6, maybe 4.7, and then 4.9. So, when I rank Black Beacon as 4.5, that is how I am ranking the game in comparison to other gacha games. So, I am keeping my eye out for further gacha games to come. I don't remember the name of them, but there are some gacha games that have trailers that came out recently for like beta testing that look really nice. Black Beacon for me is going to compete with those. I am more interested in fantasy vibes than any other theme or setting, but for the gameplay that it is, which is very similar to Wuthering Waves, I have high hopes and high faith for this game. So again, I have in good faith for the developers that they will fix their optimization problems soon. Until then, right now, the game, in my opinion, is at a 3.5, but if they fix their problems, it will be a 4.5 right here. So that is the conclusion of my Black Beacon review for the game. If you guys enjoyed it, please leave a like or leave a comment on what you agree or disagree. It would really help me out if I'm wanting to make more videos, what I can perhaps focus on to do better, or to focus on in terms of improvements, or what to avoid, or just if you guys enjoyed the video in general. That would help me out, especially with my confidence. I don't post often, or I don't have a regular posting, but I like to make videos. I don't mind editing here and there, but I just lose my fervor for making videos if I just get, like, I don't like having any reactions at all. So if you guys do see this video, please leave a review, leave a like. It really helps me personally a lot. Not in the sense of the algorithm, but just to let me know that I am being watched and people are enjoying my content. It would help a lot. So there you have it. Hope you guys have a good day. Peace and safety.